Good morning. Good morning, everyone. So today I want to just say a few words about the power of our word and success. And this reminds me of a little story. When my daughter was really young, she was, just learning to talk and wanted to do certain things. And sometimes when you're busy and you're you have a child that's bothering you, and I would be busy working and she would want something, and I would go, yes. And she'd ask if we could do something, and I would say, yes, we can, we'll do it later. Of course, later comes, and something else has turned up, and I have another commitment. And then she would say to me, and I'd say, oh, darling, yeah, I know I said that we'll do that, but maybe we'll do it tomorrow, or maybe we'll do it next week. And she would look at me with this, her crazy little afro. She had a gorgeous little afro, her big dark eyes, and look at me really intently and say, but you said. And I'm like, And she goes, but you said. And she would say that to me, or she said it to me over and over in this particular situation. But you said. And eventually I cottoned on that she was upset with me because I had promised something. I had said that we would do something, and I was trying to renege on it. Circumstances had come up, or something else had come up. I was busy, and I was kind of trying to dismiss her, push her aside and just go, oh, we'll do it. We'll do it at a different time. And she constantly reminded me, she would say, but you said. But you said. And that stuck with me because it was an interesting lesson to learn. I'm saying to this child who's about 2-3 years old, expecting me to honor and keep a promise, and I'm trying to dismiss her. And she reminded me, in a simple phrase, she reminded me, but you said. And I realized that with children especially, you can't break a promise. It can really affect your relationship and affect the ability to build trust with your kids when you say you're going to do something and you don't. And this applies in business as well. So I've had experiences where people have broken promises to me. I haven't done anything about it at the time that the promise was broken, but I've always remembered it. I remember it. And I've even had clients who break their word, who don't do what they say they're going to do. We work on documents, we do things together. I send it across. They meant to get back to me by a certain time, and there's no communication. They don't actually get back to me with a feedback. First of all, I find that quite strange because I think, well, you're the one paying me money. You've already paid me money. I've produced these first rounds of documents, and, you've made the commitment that you'll get back to me with an answer, feedback, so we can get on to the next versions by a certain date, and you haven't done that. And some of them I've had to chase and chase. Eventually, because obviously they want to apply for roles, they want their LinkedIn profiles updated and looking flash. They do eventually get back to me. We do eventually get the work done. But here's the thing. I've had opportunities come. I'm connected to networks, to previous bosses, to industry experts. And sometimes they will come to me and say, hey, I've got this role, or something's happening. Do you have someone in mind? And I know the client's resume, I know their skills. But you know what? I don't tend to put them forward because they've shown me in one simple way, a simple way, that they can't honor their word. And when you've built a reputation of honoring your word, or you someone that makes it a priority to honor your word, to keep your word, to do what you say you're going to do, in other words, and then you renege on that, or you backtrack on that, that can often leave a sour taste in people's mouth, and it definitely does not elicit trust. And so sometimes there's been scenarios where, I know that people have got great skills. I can refer them on, I can help them get a role. But I always go by the actions with me, the way they're responding to me, the way they conduct themselves with me. And I truthfully don't want to put them forward for something because that person, the ex-boss, the connection that I have, the industry expert, trusts me. They trust my reputation, and they trust that I'm going to put forward good candidates, people that do what they say they're going to do, people that keep their promises. And so here's the thing that people don't realize is that your word is super powerful. Honoring your word and creating success around your word is one of the most powerful things you can do in terms of career and also in terms of life. There are some reasons, I'll go through some reasons why people struggle to keep their word. So often sidetracked. Many of us become sidetracked. Let's face it, there's so much calling our attention every day. The next shiny object, the next bit of news, the next, crazy tech gadget or something that we're all interested in getting. We become sidetracked. So that's one reason that people can sometimes dishonor their word or not honor their word, not keep their promise. Sometimes we can lose enthusiasm. We make a promise, we commit to something, but you lose enthusiasm because you realize that it's actually harder to keep that promise than you thought it might be. Also, people can genuinely forget. You can say you're going to do something, or say you're going to meet a person somewhere, or get on a phone call with them, or whatever it is that you make a commitment to, and you can genuinely forget. Again, lots on the schedule, super busy. Most of us are busy, or we allow ourselves to become overly busy. And then sometimes also we haven't allowed enough time. There's a conflict in our schedule. We haven't checked our schedule. We haven't been organized enough. And so you end up with a conflict and you have to choose. And then you end up breaking your word to someone. If there's a conflict in the schedule, you're always going to end up breaking your word to someone. And sometimes we don't realize we've implied a promise. Like with my daughter, when I said, yes, we'll go and do that. I think she had wanted to go to the beach that time. And I said we would go do that. She understood that we were going to do that as soon as Mummy was finished with whatever it was that I was doing. And I had been dismissive. I actually wasn't listening properly. I wasn't fully present. And so in my mind, it was, yes, we'll go to the beach. I was not necessarily thinking that we were going to the beach right at that moment or right when I finished that particular task. It was just a general, yes, we'll go to the beach. But she took it that I had made a promise. So I didn't realize I had implied a promise. And so when I tried to renege or said later, we'll do it later, she came back and said, but you said. So sometimes we can imply a promise and not realize that someone has taken that seriously. And here's the thing. You can only ever really renege on a promise or renege on your word once or twice. If you do it with the same person more than once or twice, you are going to create a feeling of distrust. And in the workplace, what you might notice, or maybe you won't notice that, but a thing that's likely to happen is that colleagues start avoiding you. People don't start passing work onto you. There's a feeling of reticence. People are reserved about engaging in certain things with you. If you're a leader, what happens is dissatisfaction in your team. Often people will start creating backup plans, ways to get out of that job or ways to work for someone else in the company or even to find another job if they become dissatisfied with a leader who consistently breaks their word, who says certain things and doesn't follow through and doesn't do what they say they're going to do. There are some ways to keep our word, to make sure we're able to keep our word. And the most important thing is to stop and think before you commit to something. Take a moment. If someone asks something of you, asks for a commitment, asks for a promise, asks you to do something, I think it's important to stop and go, can I get back to you on that? Because it's important to then go and do the second thing, which is be organized. Have a look at your schedule. See if you are able to actually honor that commitment or honor that promise. If you're not, then this brings me to the third point. Be honest. Be honest and apologetic and state that, unfortunately, I can't commit to this at this time. There's a conflict in my schedule. Whatever your reasons are, be honest and be sincerely apologetic. There's nothing wrong. There's no skin off our nose to say, I'm sorry, but I can't commit to that right now. Be principled. Do what you say you're going to do. If you make the commitment, don't then go around and look for the get out excuse or the get out clause, because, sometimes we can convince ourselves that something isn't that important. So we may have made a commitment to go to a friend's presentation, for example, and, on the night of the presentation, something comes up, or we simply couldn't be bothered. It's cold, it's rainy, whatever the reason, we don't really fancy going out. And then we go, John won't mind if I don't attend, Lisa, she probably won't be that bothered if I don't show up. The thing is, you've made a commitment, you've made a promise to be there for your friend. You haven't turned up. I can guarantee you, the friend might be gracious about it, but there is a part of them that will be hurt by you not honoring your promise. And you do that often enough to people, and you start eroding the trust and you start eroding the relationship. And so, we need to be organized with our schedules. We need to stop and think before we make a commitment or a promise. We need to be principled. Don't try to get out of it. Don't try to justify or make excuses. Be principled. Be someone that people can trust, that people go, you know what? When she says she's going to do something, or when he says he's going to do something, they actually do it. And be honest and apologetic, because sometimes circumstances do come up. Life happens. Things get in the way. It's important to be honest and apologetic, so that you continue to keep your relationships and those feelings of trust in place. And trust is particularly important in our careers, and also in business. So ongoing success in business and in life and in our careers is primarily and very importantly based on our ability to honor our word, to keep our word, to do what we say we're going to do, and to build trust. People remember that. I've always remembered that, people in my life who have, sometimes these people have not necessarily been the most ideal candidate for a role. If you went simply on their resume or their skills, you can see there's some gaps and you go, there's some development that needs to happen here. There's some learning, there's some training. But, I've often referred people on purely on their ability to be trustworthy, to honor their word. They are principled. They do what they say they're going to do. And I know that that quality is worth its weight in gold to any company, and other skills can be learned. But being a person who stands in the integrity of their word, that is a quality that is gold. It's a quality that many employers will pay a pocket full of gold for. So never underestimate the power of your word and success.